Welcome everyone to Talk with Sally. I just about missed the mark there. I usually time my music perfectly. I was trying to hold on. Okay, I was hearing myself, and with my ADD, I can't concentrate and hear myself and speak at the same time. I'm amazed at anyone who can do that, guys. Welcome to another episode of Operation Gladio. We only have 3 more chapters left. And we're getting into the good stuff. We're going to start getting it tonight. But hold on. Hold your thought. Hold my thought, but hold 1 second because I forgot to pull it up over here. Forget that I like to open up the chat so those people who are on X can participate as well and I can see what is going on. Anyway, guys, we are on episode 14. We have been covering the book by Paul Williams. And if anyone is interested in Operation Gladio, this is the book to start with. And in addition to reading the book, I have been doing extra research on top of it, collaborating and getting to know other people who want to know the truth. Hey, Bob, how are you? Or should I call you Dog? Whichever one you would like. I have done extra research on top of this topic because it's important to get the truth out there. Once you start noticing the patterns with Operation Gladio, you understand every terror attack, every coup, everything. The world just makes sense. And this operation is not on a local scale. It's not on a US scale. This is a global scale. So you have to understand what Gladio is, and if you do, you understand it. I'm going to go only into a brief overview because I have covered this very extensively. You guys can go back to episode 1. All of the episodes are here on X. They are on Rumble. And I think I started doing them halfway through on YouTube. I finally said, you know what? People need to know the truth. Hopefully it doesn't get me a lifetime ban over there. However, the information is that important. So you can go back and I go through every detail. I've got slides that go along with it to kind of help put the people, the places, and everything together. Mrs. Mac is on Rumble. Yay, I'm excited. Yay. So what is Operation Gladio? Let's see if I can make this less than 60 seconds. Usually it takes me anywhere from 3 minutes to a half hour to explain it. So let's see if I can do it in like 60 seconds. So we have this group, and I did not coin this term. Colonel Towner Watkins coined it, and it's the International Syndicate. What are they? They are a group of people, bankers, politicians. They are comprised of the CIA agents in every government. So we have the CIA in the United States, and every single government has some kind of a form of a secret agency. Anyway, we have this big group of people that decided that they liked having control. They liked knowing the deep, dark secrets. So what did they do after World War? Okay, let's kind of slow down. So after World War II, or during World War II, we had the OSS. And it was a great way of getting intel and getting to know what people were thinking. Well, when that was coming to an end, a group of people, specifically the Dulles brothers, we're like, gosh, we kind of like being able to have this intel. Imagine what we could do. We could infiltrate governments, we could influence elections. There's so much we can do. So, Gladio, what is Gladio specifically? Gladio are called left behind soldiers. And what are left behind soldiers? Think of NATO. NATO is involved in every single country. We have the UN. We have all kinds of different groups working together. So every single country has Gladio soldiers or left behind soldiers, and they are facilitated mainly by the UN. So they created this international syndicate by using the mafia, using bankers, high-level bankers, heroin, and the Vatican to help funnel their money so that it was not trackable and traceable. A lot of their operations are done off the books, and most people in government agencies have zero clue about this thing, either because they're lazy or other reasons. I think because they're lazy. So this group of people goes on throughout the world, and they overthrow, not necessarily overthrow governments, but they interfere with elections. They infiltrate riots, protests on both sides, not just one, but both sides, to cause chaos. Chaos is how they are going to control the world. If we're distracted by chaos, we don't know what they're really doing. So, how this little international syndicate, the way it's all structured through getting heroin, using the mafia to transport to the United States, then bring it to the Vatican to have it laundered, and then the international syndicate or CIA or like groups go and they sell these weapons to both sides of a war or a conflict. They did it in South Korea, they did it in Vietnam, they did it the Iraq War, they did it forever and ever, the French Revolution, and that goes back before Gladio had an official name, and I digress. So they use this money to be able to do operations off the books, and that's why they do it. And right now, I'm going to take a pause. So that is Operation Gladio. I go into so much more detail, the people involved, names, places, dates, times, and I even did slides to help you understand it because there was so much information at the first of this book that I wanted to make sure we understood what we were talking about. And with that said, guys, I want to say hi to everyone that's here. I've got JJ on X. I've got Flow State, Mrs. Mac. I've got Andy, Macklin Griffin. Who else? So we got those guys over on YouTube. And then on Rumble, I've got Julian, Bob, APAC. I saw Michelle a minute ago. And I have saying a lot. Guys, thanks for being here. So we have 3 chapters left. Oh, SE Medic, welcome. We have 3 chapters left of this book, and my eyes have been wide open. I see the world differently. I implore every single person to get and to try to understand what this is. If you do, you will see what happened in, who was it? The Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, getting shot. His guards didn't protect him. He is going against the international syndicate. Who could that possibly be? The World Health Organization, the UN, UNICEF, the list goes on. And so that happened this week. And then we had the pilot of Iran, not the pilot, the president of Iran, supposedly having a hard landing on his helicopter, whatever hard landing, rough landing means. That I think they're just kind of downplaying everything. And I haven't heard yet if he is alive or dead. He was aligning with Russia. There's lots of things that kind of correlate. Colonel Towner covered that very well on her spaces today, which I'm grateful for. Hi, Michelle. I've missed you. And saying la is giving me the tinfoil hat emoji over on Rumble, which I love Rumble for that because I love my fun emojis. And I wish that I could use them. I wish I could use my emojis that I uploaded and created and be able to use them on other people's channels on Rumble because they're hysterical. Um, what was I going to say? With that said, guys, we are going to start part 14, which is chapter 21, and it's death and resurrection. We are going to start getting into the Middle East. What different organizations in the Middle East did this international syndicate help create in order to create chaos, in order to keep going and meddling with other countries, other elections, all in the before it was all in the name of communism. Now it's all about the war on terror. And that happened about, well, they had to create something, right? So they started setting this up after the Cold War. And officially, I mean, there was terror attacks and stuff going on. 9/11 was the tipping point of the war on terror. That's when we lost a lot of our freedoms. That's when our government was allowed to spy on us. We're going to learn different players in history. Saddam Hussein, Barack Obama, they're all going to play a role in these different groups and different factions, whether they were funded by this group and went along to get along or went along to get a big paycheck at the end of the day. Okay, that was a whole lot of everything, and I'm sorry, my brain is all over the place because I've got so much information going through it right now, and I've got to slow it down and bring it to center and focus on what we're talking about right now. But we're getting into the fun stuff because the history is great. I love the history past stuff. The goal is always to bring it back to the present, the future, right now. What's going on right now? And can we do anything about it? I don't know. But knowledge is power, and knowing who the real enemy is the key. They want a one world government. And if anyone is still in denial about that, you need to do some research. You need to step away from your TV. You need to go order some books. You need to either read or you need to listen to them because the information's out there. We just got lazy. Okay. Hello, Salient fans of the aforementioned. Ah, you're so sweet. Guys, thanks for being here. I'm excited about this. I was planning on doing only one chapter tonight. We will see, because the first chapter is only 25 minutes. We have 3 left. So after the end of the first chapter, we will reevaluate and decide if we're going to continue on. And I hope everybody had a fantastic... Where did my finger go? Did I oh no, there it is. I was pulling up the chapters earlier. I hope you guys all had a fantastic... Is this not gonna let me go there? Oh, there we go. Awesome. Sunday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Now that I explain what Gladio is, I'll kind of give you an update on my weekend. I had to go to a funeral, which I hate. My guy's stepmom died of cancer, which she's battled for 10 years. It was in remission. And then there's this thing that happened in 2020, and she got 4 really big Band-Aids, just to make sure that she was extra protected. And well, the cancer came back, and she's battled it had a rough time of it for the last year, but she's had cancer in the past and she's beat them and she's healthy. She does the right things. Well, there's sometimes when you just get it again and it comes back, it's just kind of hard on you. Anyway, so we did that this weekend. So I apologize for not streaming on Friday or Saturday, but I do appreciate you guys being here. You're awesome. Okay, so we're going to do a sound check. I think I turned my settings down. So I turned my mic down before because my audio was so loud. Okay, I think it's back up to 100%. There we go. Right there should be good. So we'll do a sound check, guys. 1 is everything's fine. 2, you can't hear it at all. And 5 is blowing out your eardrums. If there's anything in between, let me know.
Chapter 21. Death and Resurrection. The investigation could identify the people involved in Gladio back to 1972. Some of them had died, but some were alive. I discovered everyone who was responsible for the Petiano massacre in 1972. 3 terrorists, a gendarmerie general, a colonel, a marshal, intelligence and police chiefs, and members of the judiciary. All of them were found guilty and punished. However, the court did not put the organization itself on trial, although it agreed that Gladio had been involved. In the end, only those who were involved in the acts were punished, but not the organization. Moreover, we could identify only 622 gladiators, but the real number is much higher. The rest went into hiding. Judge Felice Casson, member of the Gladio Commission, today's Zaman, 2008. As long as the U.S. public remains ignorant of this dark chapter in U.S. foreign relations, the agencies responsible for it will face little pressure to correct their ways. The end of the Cold War brought wholesale changes in other nations, but it changed little in Washington. In an ironic twist, confessed CIA mole Aldrich Ames had raised the basic question of whether the U.S. needs tens of thousands of agents working around the world, primarily in and against friendly countries. The U.S., he adds, still awaits a real national debate on the means and ends and costs of our national security policies. Arthur Rouse, Gladio, the secret U.S. war to subvert Italian democracy. The Architecture of Modern Political Power, 1996. At the time of Sindona's strange death, the CIA's main concern was no longer left-wing political activity in Italy and Western Europe, but rather the situation in Afghanistan. The Great Jihad grew in scope and strength, threatening to sap the USSR of its strength and resolve. The inhabitants of the 5 republics of the Soviet Union, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, who shared a common Turkish heritage and remained devoutly Islamic, were supportive of the Mujahideen in their struggle against their communist overlords. This support, combined with the massive amount of Muslim recruits to the Great Jihad from the Arab world, served to create a creeping sense of futility among the Soviet troops. To drive the evil empire to the point of total collapse, the CIA continued to infuse the Holy War with munitions and money, until the war in Afghanistan became the agency's most expensive covert undertaking. By 1985, the Afghan rebels were receiving $250 million a year in dirty money from the CIA to battle the 115,000 Soviet troops occupying the country. This figure was double the number of Soviet troops who had been deployed to Afghanistan in 1984. The annual payments to the Muslim guerrillas reached nearly $1 billion by 1988. By this time, the CIA was also shipping highly sophisticated weaponry, including Stinger missiles, to the jihadists, whom they mistakenly viewed as freedom fighters. Muslim missionaries. In an effort to supply recruits to the jihad, the CIA once again focused its attention on America's black community. This development was understandable. The agency realized that millions of African Americans who felt disenfranchised by the system had converted to Islam, which they saw as the black man's religion. This movement, prompted by such black leaders as Timothy Drew, Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Poole, Elijah Muhammad, and Malcolm Little, Malcolm X, had given rise to hundreds of mosques within America's inner cities. By 1980, the CIA began to send hundreds of militant Muslim missionaries, all members of the radical Tablighi Jamaat, into American mosques to call on young black men to take up arms in the Holy War to liberate their Muslim brothers. Sheikh Mubarak Jilani, one of the first of these missionaries to arrive, convinced scores of members of the Yasin Mosque in Brooklyn to head off to guerrilla training camps in Pakistan, with an offer of thousands in cash and the promise of 70 houris in seventh heaven, if they were killed in action. The cash came from the CIA's coffers. The training camps.
Okay, can you guys kind of see what they're doing right now? They are already U.S. citizens. They are starting to get them, oh, you belong to this religion, you should be Muslim. They start slow. Their plan is big and it's long-winded. It's all thought out. If anything derails the plan, they reevaluate and they make adjustments and they continue on to the one goal. The one goal is a one world government. That is their ultimate goal. And they are using whoever they can to fight their cause. And it seems like they're always targeting the Black community, which is, to me, is awfully disgusting. So kind of pay attention to what they're doing. So this is clear back in is this the 90s, I believe, that he said?
Realizing it would be financially advantageous to train the new recruits on American soil, Sheikh Jilani, with the help of the CIA, set up paramilitary training camps in rural areas throughout the country.
I have to pause because Bowser's asking, I wonder how much occult influence this op has. It is all, so when people say occult, if you understand Gladio, Bulldozer, you have to go back and you have to start at episode 1 because I go through it all. And if you do, you'll understand when people refer to the occult, they think of deep state. Deep state, I call the United States deep state. If you think of international syndicate, you can think of every country's deep state combined working behind the scenes for this one goal. So yes, it is deep and very, 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 very deep. It is, and it's all the influence. It has everything to do with everything from the Epstein stuff to Diddy to open borders, closed borders. They need open borders. They make money from drugs, weapons, and trafficking of human beings, whether it be young, old, whatever. And it's disgusting what they're doing. But if you understand it, then we can help spread the word. Because at the end of the day, we, the people, have to unite as one. We have to work together. There's no right versus left anymore. Every faction of every group has been infiltrated by this international syndicate. Every religion, Muslim, Jewish, Mormon, Catholic, Protestant, and I'm sure I'm leaving a ton out. They've all been infiltrated. And it's your job to get real knowledge and do your own work and do your own research.
Including Hancock, New York, Red House, Virginia, Commerce, Georgia, York, South Carolina, Dover, Tennessee, Buena Vista, Colorado, Macon, Georgia, Squaw Valley, California, Marion, Alabama, and Tallahassee, Oklahoma. By 1985, the international press began to report that an unspecified number of African American Muslims, all related.
Okay, so time frames are important to me. So we're going back to 85. So 85 is they're done with the dirty war. They're shifting gears right now. They know that the Cold War is coming to an end. And so they're starting to put everything into place to start doing the war on terror versus the war on communism. And I didn't realize it went back to 1985. I thought it started in the 90s.
To the camps set up by Jilani, had joined the ranks of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, and that several had been killed in action. When questioned, several of the jihadis imported from America would testify that they were agents of the CIA. The Al-Qaeda cell. To provide more support for the Mujahideen, the CIA used Abdullah Azzam, Osama bin Laden's mentor, to set up a cell of Al-Qaeda within Masjid al-Faruq on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. The cell, known as the Al-Kifa Refugee Center, acted as a front for the transference of funds, weapons, and recruits to Afghanistan. Throughout the 1980s, this militant organization received over $2 million a year, and Masjid al-Faruq became a very wealthy institution. During this time, Azzam spent a great deal of time in Brooklyn. In a 1988 videotape, he can be seen and heard telling a large crowd of African Americans that blood and martyrdom are the only way to create a Muslim society. By 1992, Al-Farouk Mosque had become a haven for Arabian veterans from the Great Jihad in Afghanistan, who were granted special passports to enter the United States by the CIA. A feud erupted between the older African-American members of the mosque and the Arab newcomers, which resulted in the murder of Mustafa Shalabi, the fiery imam of the mosque, on March 1, 1991. The crime has never been solved.
Okay, so Dev kind of makes a good point. He says, Sally, stay safe. You know as well as anyone what can come of speaking out publicly. Hello, by the way. Okay, the good thing is I'm not the only one speaking about this anymore. Excuse me. There's a Colonel Towner Watkins. You can find her on X, and you can find her on Rumble on the Colonel's Corner. And she's covering this as well. And she is much more well informed than I am. She's over a year into her research, and she doesn't just have her researching. She is going country by country, and she's looking at the patterns, and she's connecting the dots. And once you know what Gladio is, you can connect the dots yourself. So once you know that one person is involved in a coup or a hard coup, or a terror attack, you can start to look and trace back how they are connected to the international syndicate. I'm not the only one talking about this. I love my kids. I wish no harm on anybody, anywhere in this world. I believe in peace and love and coming together as one. And the world is waking up 100%. And the more people that know about this, the more that people who speak about it are protected. And that's kind of the goal. We have to end this sick thing. If you know anything about the fall of the cabal, Janet Osbard exposed all of these people. Claire Back in 2000s. She was working on this in the 2000s. Before then even. And she's no longer here, but she was working alone. She didn't realize, they don't realize there's an army of us out there. There's not just me.
New CIA amigos. The soaring expenses for the covert war in Afghanistan, coupled with the ongoing need of support for the guerrilla units in Latin America and the secret armies in Western Europe, caused the CIA to forge new alliances. In 1980, the agency deployed Dewey Claridge, its top agent in Latin America, to establish ties with Honduran drug lord Juan Mata Ballesteros, who operated the airline Setco. Setco agreed to transport narcotics to gangs north of the border and arms to a warehouse in Honduras that was operated by CIA operatives Oliver North and Richard Secord. The weapons were purchased by the agency's cut of the deal, which in one transaction amounted to $14 million. The CIA also made business arrangements with other drug lords, including Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, the godfather of the Mexican drug business, whose ranch became a training ground for right-wing guerrilla armies, and Miguel Nazar Haro, the leader of the Guadalajara cartel, Mexico's most powerful narcotics network. By 1990, more than 75% of all the cocaine entering the United States came through Mexico. Mexico also became a leading source of heroin, marijuana, and methamphetamines. The business was generating $50 billion a year. The CIA had found a source of funding to augment its ongoing heroin trade with the Turkish Babas and the Sicilian Mafia. The new alliance meant that the agency could launch operations even more ambitious than Gladio. Last gasp. In 1988, as the first half of the Soviet contingent began its withdrawal.
Okay, so 1988, the Soviet Union's going to start to withdraw from Afghanistan. Dates are important, 1988.
Withdrawal from Afghanistan, Operation Gladio came to an end in Western Europe. The official figures of the undertaking in Italy from the Gladio Commission showed that 14,591 acts of violence with political motivation had occurred between January 1st, 1969 and December 31st, 1987. Through Gladio, 491 people had been killed and 1,181 injured or maimed. The figures were without parallel in Italian history. In 1988, the Italian Senate established the Parliamentary Commission of the Italian.
So keep in mind, guys, they're only talking about Italy right now. Those are the numbers of people either maimed, killed in Italy. This is not globally.
Senate for the investigation of terrorism in Italy under Senator Libero Gualtieri. The investigation proved to be a daunting task. Witnesses withheld testimony, documents were destroyed, and the commissioners were divided on how much to disclose to the public. The commission itself was made up of members from the competing political parties in Italy, with some from the Italian left and others from the Italian right. They were split on what exactly the historical truth in Italy was, and they disagreed on how many of their sensitive findings should be presented to the public. Documents discovered. But Judge Félix Casson, a member of the commission, finally uncovered documents that revealed that a secret military strategy had been at work during the years of lead. This strategy, involving an underground army, had been drafted by government sources and implemented by a foreign agency with an abundance of money. In July 1990, Casson obtained the permission from Prime Minister Andreotti to access the archives of the headquarters of SISMI within Palazzo Braschi in Rome. Within the archives, the judge found top-secret documents that spoke of a covert operation named Gladio that had been created by U.S. intelligence to engage in unorthodox warfare throughout Italy. Casson realized at once that by unearthing this information, he had placed himself in grave danger, since every investigator who had stumbled upon Gladio had come to a violent end. From July until October 1990, Casson later recalled, I was the only one who knew something about Operation Gladio. This could have been unfortunate for me. Andreotti's admission.
So Colonel Towner Watkins, she was in a lot of her spaces. She has indicated that because she was a colonel in the U.S. military. I don't know if she was military. I need to ask her if she was military, Air Force, or Navy. Or Marines. I need to ask her what her role was. She was stationed in Italy when these trials were going on. Oh, she was Air Force. That's what I thought. She was stationed in Italy when these things were going on. And there would be people being gunned down in the streets. There would be people, reporters, witnesses just dying. She had no clue what this was. She, like me, stumbled upon this by reading history books, or, you're like, what is Gladio? And then you start looking into it and you're like, oh my gosh, right? And so she had zero clue what Operation Gladio was or what they were doing behind the scenes. She just trumped everything up to gang violence. The mafia was out of control in Italy, right? The layers upon layers upon layers of this international syndicate is amazing. These people might know something, but they don't know what each other's doing. These people way high up here are the ones who are controlling everything, and everything is like a need to know basis in this international syndicate. It's a paramilitary in all actuality. They have all the capability to have their own army in every single country.
On August 2nd, 1990, Prime Minister Andreotti was ordered to provide the Parliamentary Commission with information regarding the parallel and occult structure within SISMI that functioned to condition the political life of the country. The next day, the 71-year-old Prime Minister appeared before the Commission and assured the senators that he would provide a written report on the secret structure within 60 days. I will present to the Commission a very precise report, which I have asked the Defense Department to prepare, Andreotti said. It is about the activities based on NATO planning that have been started for the eventuality of an attack and occupation of Italy or parts of Italy.
So for those who are just joining right now, so NATO, most Gladio soldiers or people who are in charge or high up have a high position in NATO in every country. Let that sink in just a little bit.
He added, I will provide the Commission with all the necessary documentation, be it on the problem in general, or be it on the specific findings made by Judge Casson. On October 8, 1990, Andreotti presented a Secret Service report titled The So-Called Parallel SID, Operation Gladio, to the Commission. After examining it, Chairman Gualtieri sent the report back to the Prime Minister, saying that the revelation of its contents would violate a breach of NATO security. A censored report was delivered several days later and made public. News is out. The censored report said that a secret army known as Gladio had been set up on Italian soil by the CIA at the start of the Cold War. The army was well armed with portable arms, ammunition, explosives, hand grenades, knives and daggers, 60mm mortars, several 57mm recoilless rifles, sniper rifles, radio transmitters, binoculars, and various tools. Its arsenals were concealed in 139 hiding places throughout the country, including forests, meadows, cemeteries, and churches. Several cases of weapons, the report noted, had gone missing. The news of the covert operation captured headlines for weeks throughout Italy and Western Europe. As magistrates, parliamentarians, academics, and journalists began to uncover more and more information about stay-behind forces that had been funded by the CIA to thwart the spread of communism. In different countries, investigators discovered the armies were known by different code names, including Absalon in Denmark, Agenterpress in Portugal, SDRA in Belgium, ROC in Norway, and I&O in the Netherlands. In each country, investigators learned leading government officials, prime ministers, presidents, defense ministers, and interior ministers, worked in close corroboration with the CIA to address every incursion of communism within their borders. But the most alarming finding for those who dug into the Gladio story was that the secret armies had been used to mount terror attacks that could be blamed on the communists in order to discredit left-wing political parties at the voting polls. These attacks, the researchers learned, were intended to create maximum fear. They ranged from bomb massacres in trains and marketplaces to violent coups that toppled governments. No comment.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys caught that. In every single country, every operation has a different name. Why is that? It makes it so it's not easy to look up. What you have to do then is you have to start, they change definitions and they change words on us. You have to look up hard coup and soft coup. Though that's the best way to find out all the different information. Since, going back to the early 1900s, there have been between 70 and 75 hard coups and soft coups. What is a hard coup? That would be like what they may have done to the president of Iran. Soft coup, well, they attempted a hard coup, but the prime minister of Slovakia, right? A soft coup would be like what they did to Donald Trump. They made sure that he would not be our president. Same thing in Brazil with Bolsonaro. So once you know the language that they use, you guys just have to understand that you have to look things up a different way. And I implore you guys to do your own research. When reading this book and talking about this stuff and making slides, I fact-checked everything. Everything I can find on Wikipedia, which is amazing that it's on Wikipedia. Those who know that it's easily to be edited and changed to fit a certain narrative, to me, that says a lot. There's only one person that I could not find a picture of or any kind of history, and there's a reason for that. I'm sure he was pretty high up.
As more and more revelations came to light, U.S. and British officials refused to confirm or deny what the press alleged to be the best-kept and most damaging political military secret since World War II. In Great Britain, spokespersons at the Defense Department told the inquisitive British press, "I'm afraid we can't discuss security matters." Finally, British Defense Secretary Tom King tried to pass off the matter of the secret arms that had created widespread death and destruction throughout Europe with a joke. "I am not sure what particular hot potato you're chasing after. It sounds wonderfully exciting, but I'm afraid I'm quite ignorant about it. I'm better informed about the Gulf." Admiral Stansfield Turner, director of the CIA from 1977 to 1981, adamantly refused to answer questions about Gladio during a television news interview in Italy in December 1990. When the news anchor insisted that Turner should respond as a gesture of respect for the victims of the numerous massacres in Italy, the former CIA director angrily shouted, "I said no questions about Gladio." He ripped off his microphone and left the set. The interview was over.
Do you think that maybe he doesn't want to answer any questions about Gladio because he wants to stay alive? Do you think that might be anyone who is a part of Gladio? They are all part of the P2 Masonic Lodge. They are all knighted Knights of Malta, so they have a place to go and hide out and to have their little meetings and plan everything once, twice, 3 times a year. And one of the rules is if you speak or if you think, don't write it down. There's like 4 of them. If you speak, make sure no one can hear you. Pretty much don't speak. If you do, you're gone. And they will make sure that they will do it in a way that people will know who you are. It will be, if you guys know Killary style, you end up with 2 bullets and it's declared self-elimination by the coroner, right? Or deletion, self-deletion. And because I'm on YouTube, that is why I'm using those words. So I'm speaking in code, and you guys are smart enough to know the difference. Do you think maybe that is why he doesn't want to talk? Yes, a coup d'etat, Bob APAC said, "Didn't a coup d'etat get stopped in the Congo today? Saw a couple of people," I'm not saying that word on here only because, in cuffs. And I was thinking the same thing that you're thinking right now. Colonel Towner, because there's few people that I will use their names and that I will give credit to. And it's people who I know do their homework. I know that what they're telling me is for the betterment of this country and for myself, my family, and she happens to be one of them. So when I say Colonel Towner said today that we have to use the 48-hour rule. Yes, the passports said they were U.S. citizens. Are they really? We still have to wait for further details and try hard not to spread misinformation. If that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised if they were U.S. citizens. And yes, they did stop a coup d'etat in Congo today.
Official condemnation. On November 22nd, the European Parliament, the directly elected parliamentary institution of the European Union, passed the following resolution condemning Gladio, demanding a full investigation of its undertakings, and calling for its paramilitary units to be dismantled. Joint resolution replacing B3 2021, 2058, 2068, 2078, and 2087/90. A. Having regard to the revelation by several European governments of the existence for 40 years of a clandestine parallel intelligence and armed operations organization in several member states of the community. B. Whereas for over 40 years this organization has escaped all democratic controls and has been run by the secret services of the states concerned in collaboration with NATO. C. Fearing the danger that such clandestine network may have interfered illegally in the internal political affairs of member states or may still do so. D. Whereas in certain member states' military secret services, or uncontrolled branches thereof were involved in serious cases of terrorism and crime as evidenced by various judicial inquiries. E. Whereas these organizations operated and continue to operate completely outside the law, since they are not subject to any parliamentary control, and frequently those holding the highest government and constitutional posts are kept in the dark as to these matters. F. Whereas the various Gladio organizations have at their disposal independent arsenals and military resources which give them an unknown strike potential, thereby jeopardizing the democratic structures of the countries in which they are operating or have been operating. G. Greatly concerned at the existence of decision-making and operational bodies which are not subject to any form of democratic control, and are of a completely clandestine nature at a time when greater community cooperation in the field of security is a constant subject of discussion. 1. Condemns the clandestine creation of manipulative and operational networks, and calls for a full investigation into the nature, structure, aims, and all other aspects of these clandestine organizations or any splinter groups, their use for illegal interference in the internal political affairs of the countries concerned, the problem of terrorism in Europe, and the possible collusion of the secret services of member states or third countries. 2. Protests vigorously at the assumption by certain U.S. military personnel at SHAPE and in NATO of the right to encourage the establishment in Europe of a clandestine intelligence and operation network. 3. Calls on the governments of the member states to dismantle all clandestine military and paramilitary networks. 4. Calls on the judiciaries of the countries in which the presence of such military organizations has been ascertained to elucidate fully their composition and modus operandi, and to clarify any action they may have taken to destabilize the democratic structure of the member states. 5. Requests all the member states to take the necessary measures, if necessary by establishing parliamentary committees of inquiry, to draw up a complete list of organizations.
So what they're basically asking them right now is they have discovered what Gladio is. They understand that the United States CIA is involved. What these people don't realize is that the good people in the CIA don't really know what's going on, because it is this splinter group, the secret little group that uses the United States and the CIA as cover by saying, in the name of national security. If they do it in the name of national security, they do not have to have Congress approval. So you have this little secret group. And yes, there are some people within our Congress that know about them, or in office that know them. However, not necessarily the case. So when they go there, what they're asking them to do is to hold congressional hearings in every single country to get to the bottom of this and to find out what's really going on.
Active in this field, and at the same time to monitor their links with the respective state intelligence services and their links, if any, with terrorist action groups and or other illegal practices. 6. Calls on the Council of Ministers to provide full information on the activities of these secret intelligence and operational services. 7. Calls on its component committee to consider holding a hearing in order to clarify the role and impact of the Gladio organization and any similar bodies. 8. Instructs its president to forward this resolution to the Commission, the Council, the Secretary General of NATO, the governments of the member states, and the United States government. The resolution was forwarded to NATO Secretary General Manfred Werner and U.S. President George H.W. Bush. Neither supported the document nor offered an explanation of Gladio's necessity. The Stone Wall. On April 15, 1991, Malcolm Byrne, Deputy Director of the National Security Archive Institute at George Washington University in Washington, filed a Freedom of Information request, FOIA, with the CIA concerning Gladio. Specifically, he asked for all agency records related to the United States government's original decisions, probably taken during the 1951 to 55 period, to sponsor, support, or collaborate with any covert armies, networks, or other units established to resist a possible invasion of Western Europe by communist-dominated countries, or to conduct guerrilla activities in Western European countries should they become dominated by communist, leftist, or Soviet-sponsored parties or regimes. He added, "With reference to the above, please include in your search any records relating to the activities known as Operation Gladio, particularly in France, Germany, or Italy." Byrne noted in his request that a release of the records will contribute significantly to public understanding of the United States foreign policy in the
So that's the hard thing. So right there, you know that they're telling them they want them to search the records for Operation Gladio. The thing is, in every single country, it had a different name. Every country had a different name. So Gladio units, so take, for example, Turkey. They were werewolves. Every country has a different name. So to go and scrub your records to find out what it actually is and who's involved is difficult.
in the post-World War II era, as well as the role of intelligence information, analyses, and operations in United States policymaking at the time. On June 18, 1991, the agency provided its standard response in a letter that said, "The CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of records responsive to your request." When Byrne appealed this decision, the CIA claimed that information regarding Gladio remained protected in the interest of national defense, and therefore was exempted from the disclosures mandated by the FOIA. Attempts by European officials to obtain information were equally futile. In March 1995, the Italian Senate Commission under Giovanni Pellegrino asked the CIA for all records regarding the Red Brigades and the Aldo Moro kidnapping. They too received the rote reply, "The CIA can neither confirm nor deny the existence of documentation regarding your inquiry." At this writing, the Gladio files remained classified as confidential and unavailable for inspection. The refusal to disclose any information about the undertaking is in keeping with Operation Mockingbird. Catherine Graham, publisher of The Washington Post and a Mockingbird operative, said, "There are some things the general public does not need to know and shouldn't. I believe democracy flourishes when the government can take legitimate steps to keep its secrets and when the press can decide whether to print what it knows." Andreotti's agony. After Andreotti broke his silence regarding Gladio, he was dragged in front of 2 Italian courts for cooperating with Toto Riina and the Sicilian Mafia in criminal activities, and for issuing the orders for the assassination of journalist Mino Pecorelli. In the midst of these trials, Pope John Paul II took time in the Vatican to clasp Andreotti's hands and to offer the beleaguered Prime Minister what appeared to be an embrace. Following this incident, the Holy Father was challenged as he spoke from the pulpit of St. Peter's Cathedral by an irate student who was offended by the endorsement. It was the first time a vicar of Christ had been challenged within the confines of his own church in 700 years. Eventually, Andreotti was exonerated on both charges. But in 2002, an appeals court in Perugia ruled that the former prime minister was guilty of complicity in the murder and sentenced him to 24 years in prison. Hearing the verdict, Silvio Berlusconi, the present prime minister, called it an example of justice gone mad. Berlusconi's outcry was, for many, only to be expected. Like Andreotti, he had been an active member of P2 during the years of lead. The Vatican, too, expressed its contempt of the court's decision. Cardinal Fiorenzo Angelini, upon learning the news, compared Andreotti to Jesus Christ, another victim of an unjust verdict, and hoped for his resurrection from the Supreme Court. L'Osservatore Romano, the official Vatican newspaper, expressed its full solidarity with Andreotti, saying that the verdict can only be rejected by good sense. Cardinal Camillo Ruini, head of the Italian Bishops' Conference and a key advisor to the Pope, took the occasion of his yearly address to the bishops to express his intact personal esteem for the disgraced political figure. Despite the statements of alarm over the fate of the divine Julius, the epithet for Julius Caesar which the Italian media applied to Andreotti, the murder verdict was overturned by Italy's Supreme Court in October 2003. Andreotti, who rubbed shoulders with Licio Gelli, Michele Sindona, Roberto Calvi, and John Paul II, died on May 6, 2013, at the age of 94. Andreotti may have passed on to meet his maker, but Gladio, despite all reports to the contrary, was not dead. It had simply transmogrified.
Transmogrified, that's a big word. I don't even know what it means, but it probably just means to transform. They just gave it a different name. That's what they have always done. They always give it a different name, and it continues to go on. For those who followed me since the very beginning of this, are you starting to see the patterns? Are you starting to see what this is all about? It's all one goal. And I've done research on what the end goal is as well. And the end goal is dark. It is very, very dark. And these people, they do not pay for their crimes. More often than not, they get out of it. They might go to prison. They may supposedly escape, as we found out in the last chapter. These people who run Operation Gladio have keys to various high security prisons. Even if you're in solitary confinement, they can get to you. Just think of that little island off the coast of Florida and think, how did this happen to this guy? Blackmail is a huge key. This would not function without blackmail. Blackmail is huge in it. And I've got some crazy twists, and I'm not going to get into it tonight, but I listened to a series on MK Ultra every Saturday night. There's a couple people that I love to listen to their spaces. As far as I don't know, Colonel Towner and Bill Elmer kind of have it tied, but the MK Ultra series is amazing. The guy named Researcher has been researching this for over 10 years. He does not live in the United States. It's probably for a very, very good reason. Yet he's been researching this, and he brings receipts. He brings documentation. There was something that he said last night that I was like, oh my gosh, they're all tied. And we all know that MK Ultra is a part of all of this. So Operation Mockingbird, Paperclip, MK Ultra, the list is very long of all of the different things that are encompassed in all of this. And the goal is, at the end, a one world government. The World Health Organization is part of this. May 27th of this month, the World Health Organization is trying to push through a pandemic treaty. And people don't realize that if we join this, I know that people aren't aware of it, because I talked to a friend of mine who's very liberal, and there's nothing you do to change her mind. She believes what she believes. Yeah, we can still have a good conversation. I hear her, which is great, because I get to know how that side thinks. And she hears me. She's going to still think the way she thinks, and that's okay. But I still love her. But I was talking to her yesterday about the pandemic treaty. She had no clue what it was. She's got every Band-Aid you can think of since 2020. Same with her kids, which makes me very, very sad. The goal is dark, and they're going to utilize blockchain. The goal is 15-minute cities, tokenize everything. If you eat too much steak, well, there goes your rights. Oh, right. They can use anything as an excuse. So say there was a a mass shooting in your area, your city, your state can say, "Oh, well, that's a health concern. So we're now going to take away all of your weapons." Or the possibilities are endless. The panopticon is their goal, and they'll use surveillance, digital surveillance. They will see you from everywhere. 5G is part of it. We as citizens have to stand up for it. Okay, breaking news right now. Are you being serious, Baba Pack? So, guys, apparently the Iran president has officially passed away. That is according to Bob APAC. Wow, this is going to. I was wondering. Okay, so that chapter is done. Let's go off. We can decide in a minute if we want to go on to the next chapter. This has been my thing for months and months. So we know that. Okay, so you guys all know what Gladio soldiers are. We all know what they are. They're not just in other countries. They are in this country as well. For a long time, I've been wondering what event, and I pray to God that I'm wrong on this. Like, this is one thing that I pray to God on. I was wondering what was going to be the trigger that would cause the Gladio soldiers to come awake and blame it on the mass migration. I have been wondering that for a really, really long time. And this just might be the event that is going to trigger the Gladio soldiers in the United States to do attacks. They are going to blame, guaranteed they're going to blame the United States on this somehow, some way. And they're going to wake up sleeper cells. I call them sleeper cells. I call it, or Gladio. Okay. You can call it what you want. They're going to be activated. They're going to use this mass migration as a scapegoat. And then they're going to be able to do their, this is just my theory, guys. I hope I'm wrong. This is just my thought process, and I've thought this for a long time. And then they can bring in martial law and do whatever else. Those are, I said this months ago. I've told it to Julian several times, and I'm not sure if I've ever said it live in a stream. This has always been my thought, that is what they were going to do. The border being opened, this mass migration of people from China, Africa, Venezuela, South America, to me has been a smokescreen. I believe that they were already here because if you know Gladio, you know that all of these soldiers are already trained. They're already trained. They already know how to infiltrate. They know how to they're trained in assassinations. They're trained in soft coup, hard coup. They're trained to infiltrate both sides of a protest. The eagle is Biden. Biden is nothing. Biden is just a prop. There's no way that guy is in control of anything. And if he is in control, he is one hell of an actor. There is no way that he says the things. I don't know if this video that I saw today was real or not, but there was a video of Biden. Oh gosh, what did he say? I just saw it like an hour ago. My brain is overwhelmed today because I too much information. I've got a limit to how many spaces I join that are informational because my brain goes into overload mode. What was he saying? Oh, he was saying something about during the 2020 times, right? So during that pandemic era, how he was vice president and something about how good of a job he did, or I don't even remember. But yes, there's false flags everywhere, Dev. I think your name is new to me. I encourage you, if you don't have Rumble, go over to my Rumble channel. It's Talk with Sally. I didn't cover all of Gladio on YouTube. I was nervous about it for obvious reasons because of censorship. Start with episode 1. I go through good detail, and I'm detail oriented. And at the end of the day, do your own research and validate everything. Oh, yeah, he is still being used as a prop 100%. I'm only gonna do tonight's gonna be a short night. I have had a long weekend with the funeral that I had to go to. We've got 2 chapters left. I may just next time we do it on Tuesday, I'm gonna try to start earlier and go through both chapters quickly. We're gonna get into the different groups that they set up in the Middle East. The groups that we're talking about right now, we're gonna talk about that. And then after that, because you are my chat and you are my people, you are the ones who support me. After that, we're gonna make a decision. We can go on to book 2, which would be from Danielle Ganser, a male, I believe. And we can go on to that book, which is gonna be more Gladio, but it's going to be in more detail. Or I have gotten permission from Bill Elmer to use his, MK Ultra spaces, which means I don't have to pause, I don't have to interrupt. We can just listen to it, and then we can pause when necessary and talk about it. So think about what direction you wanna go. We know what Operation Gladio is at the surface level, just not at the deep level. And I think, there's so many aha moments that I've had listening to the MK Ultra series that I think it would be fascinating maybe to take a break, cover the MK Ultra, and try to just get through as many episodes as possible and get caught up, and then go to doing them once a week. So, you guys will have to let me know if that's something you're interested in. I think it'd be really fun. That stuff really fascinates me, and he goes into the Disney, Hollywood, he goes into so many things. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I end this stream? I don't see a lot of chatter. And you know what? Oh, there still you would love this series. You're gonna have to figure out how to get back onto Rumble because I'm not gonna cover this series on YouTube. It'll be on everything's truth. Everything's researchable and truth. That's all I cover. I don't do things hyperbolic. Why? Because I don't believe in fear porn. I believe in being calm, having a plan, being knowledgeable, being kind to each other. Knowledge and truth is power. And at the end of the day, we have to come together. There's no right versus left. There's no black versus white, yellow versus orange. I don't even know whatever colors people label each other because I don't see things like that. We are one people in the United States, united as one. And we need to get back to that. Stop making fun of these leftists, even though sometimes we disagree. Attacking them does no good. Anyway, guys, if you want to support me, I'm going to tell you a couple ways that you can. It's not going to change the way I do things. It's just going to be something that'll help me out, and I appreciate it. You can follow me on https://talkwithsally.locals.com. You can support me on Rumble. You can watch my videos and watch my commercials in full over there because I get ad revenue right away. On YouTube, you can go through because I'm almost monetized. I just need more watch hours. You can go to bed and you can watch some YouTube videos so that I can get some ad revenue. But who knows how long that's going to last. Um, Second thing, guys, I am monetized on Twitter or X. Okay. You only if you like my content, share it. Comments. Comments are the most important thing, not just retweeting. Either quote tweet or leave comments underneath. That's what helps a creator more than anything. Share my content only if you like it. If you don't, please don't, because I don't want you to do things that's I don't know. I just can't do that. I only share things I like, and you should do the same thing. Also, I have links. I have a Venmo set up, and I have a Cash App set up. PayPal is no bueno. Long story, I'm not gonna go into it. They are all Talk with Sally, Venmo and Cash App, and my picture's on there, so you'll know who I am. It's appreciated, not expected. I do check it. If you leave something on Venmo and you have your real name, I never take screenshots. I don't share your information. It's client doctor privilege. And I will swear my kids' lives on that because that would be a concern for me. Cash App, you can create an anonymous name, which is great. I was nervous about signing up for Cash App, and I actually like it better than the other ones, to be completely honest with you. On X, if you go to my profile page, you have your DM little thing, and then next to it, you have another box that looks like the DM box, but it has a design on it. That'll be my links for my Venmo and my Cash App, which makes it really easy. You don't even have to leave the platform for long to do that. Um, what else? Share my content off platform if you can. Last thing, let me see. One more comment, guys. Julian, who is my friend and has been here since the beginning of me doing live streams, along with lots of other people. But right now we're highlighting Julian because he needs a kidney. Both of his kidneys are a bunch of freeloaders that suck up oxygen and don't do anything for him. He works full time. He's not a lazy POS. His campaign was only $25,000, and it is only to offset medical bills. He does dialysis for 10 hours a night, and he has to pay for supplies, and sometimes he has to go to the hospital because he gets sick. And he has a cute little puppy or dog. He's not a puppy anymore, but he's a dog. If you have anything to spare, please donate to him. If you don't, because we live in this Biden economy, I get that. Maybe share with someone who might be able to donate. I would appreciate that. And I know that he would appreciate that as well. I hope you guys are enjoying what I'm doing and what I'm covering. Feedback is always appreciated. If you follow me on Twitter and you say, hey, I know you from Rumble or Twitter, or not Twitter, but YouTube, I will follow you back. And there you can DM me and communicate with me, or you can follow me on Locals. It's $5 to join there. It's not a lot. At the time I did it, it was the cheapest that you could do to join, but you can send messages there. I do have a 24-hour chat going, which I'm really terrible at getting into. I'm hoping to get my schedule under control. It is that time of year where I'm trying to get my garden in, and balancing everything is difficult. And I'm trying to figure out how to balance everything. Those who do support me over there, I do want to say a big thank you. It does mean a lot. I do appreciate it. Everything helps. I grew up poor too, Dev. I grew up the same way, and people will judge me and say they think that I'm this rich person living in a mansion house. No. I'm a very modest, very, very modest lifestyle, and that's okay with me. I wouldn't want it any other way. Okay, guys. I don't see any questions. Just want to say thank you again. Oh, tomorrow I do work another job, and I do have clients in the morning, and today turned cold. Imagine that with the chemtrails in the sky. So I don't think I'll be planting my garden tomorrow, which means I really want to. Mondays is usually one of my nights off. However, I want to stream um, last Friday night's Bill Aylmer's space on how to stop the WHO. And I've gotten permission to share that as well. So we can listen to, he had an amazing panel of people. He had doctors, he had reporters, journalists, people who know what's going on and try to learn how to stop the WHO. So tomorrow, somehow, some way, I am streaming that no matter what. So that's going to happen tomorrow. I think it was a 4-hour space. So it's going to be 4 hours of content. I was going to do it live, but I was at that viewing. I also like the fact that it's going to be pre-recorded, so then I can pause and comment, and we can also fast forward through speakers who are long-winded. With that said, guys, I'm going to wish you guys a wonderful Monday. Until I see you guys again, be kind to each other. Remember, there are only 2 things in life you can control. It is your attitude and your effort. Nothing else we can control. We can't control anything else. So work hard, be kind, and just be you. Be amazing.